So hello everyone, I'm Dr. Thompson. I'm at UCSD, San Diego, and I've been there for about 15 years now and working with our campus community centers. I'm actually liaison to our campus community center, so my office is housed at the Women's Center, and I spend 5 hours a week at the Cross Cultural Center, 5 hours a week at the LGBT Resource Center, and then I'm also the liaison to our campus Learning Center, which is called Oasis, and we'll talk a little bit about that because this program actually comes through Oasis. So I'm the liaison to them as well, and I've been working with them the whole time that I've been on campus at UCSD.
And I'm Tiffany, and I'm starting my 14th year at UCSD as a psychologist. And one of the things that I do is I coordinate the Wellness Peer Education program. So I do a lot of work in programming, workshops on topics of well-being such as stress management, time management, healthy relationships. And on the very first day I started working, I went to Summer Bridge facilitator training. And so I've been working with Summer Bridge from day one. And it was a few years into working at UCSD that Kat came to me because of my experience with wellness programming and asked me to tighten up a couple of the workshop series that you're going to be seeing, and just revamping it a little bit and helping to do facilitator training. So that's how I'm involved with this program.
So our goals for today are to provide an overview of our College Success Strategies workshops and to inspire you all to consider ways to implement similar programs on your campuses if you don't already have them. So our Summer Bridge program is actually a program that is facilitated or comes through the Office of Academic Support and Instructional Services at UCSD, so it's a separate office, but this office was actually conceptualized by CAPS folks way back in the day. Summer Bridge program is currently in its 38th year, and this program was established in order to provide an effective transition between high school and college for our first-year students entering UC San Diego. Summer Bridge is a year-long transition program that begins with a 4-week residential, academic, and personal development program. This program selects 190 students this year. Actually, we jumped from 170 to 190 this year. The goal is to get up to 200 to 250 in the next couple of years. And these folks were selected from our incoming freshman class. Invitations go out to a segment of our incoming freshmen that are coming from our lowest resourced high schools around the state. And so these folks are coming from 4th and 5th quintile high schools. Students are generally low-income students or come from low-income families. They're first-generation college students, underrepresented students on campus. And so the outreach goes to them to apply to this program and have this first-year experience. It's really important to understand that this is not a remedial program. These students are selected from highly qualified, they're highly qualified, they've met all the criteria to get into UCSD. It's really intended to just help students gain a little bit more familiarity with the campus, to sort of feel more confident in their abilities to succeed at UCSD, and just to get that early access and early connection on campus as folks that are coming from under-resourced areas. During the program, they do earn 8 units of credit. They're taking 2 classes in the month of August. And then, of course, they also get support throughout their first year, so it extends beyond the month that we're involved with them. Some of the objectives of the program is, the principal goal of the program is to facilitate academic achievement, development, and persistence through graduation for our first-year participants. And this is accomplished by familiarizing our students with academic expectations at UCSD and understanding the difference between what was expected and what was needed in high school to do well, what might be needed and what may be different about what's needed to get to be successful at UCSD. Our academic pace is much faster, it's much more intense with our quarter system, those kinds of things are covered. We also want to develop their skills in critical thinking, reading, writing, mathematics, science, and study management. We want to increase their confidence in their academic ability and increase expectations for academic success and social fulfillment while at UCSD. We also want to enhance the perception of a positive value of university education, and so again, reestablishing that and validating their goals to seek this education and that this is something that will be valuable to them. We also are introducing, increasing their knowledge and utilization of our campus resources, and we'll tell you a bit about how that happens. We want to increase the recognition of the positive value of their respective traditional cultural values and ethnic identities of people of color, along with the utility of biculturalism and multiculturalism in our diverse societies, and that's overlaid into the program as well. And last but not least, we want to increase their network among themselves and others for collaborative learning and social support. As I mentioned, there are other components of the Summer Bridge program. They are taking 2 courses. One is called Contemporary Issues, and they're looking at issues of access and discrimination in higher education. So it's the first time they're getting some information perhaps about some of those issues that are going on more globally. And within that, they have a discussion section and a writing emphasis. They also do Education Studies course, which is a math science tutorial where they do some group work. They utilize aspects of nutrition, oceanography, physics, different kinds of things like that, and they do some group work to create projects that illustrate those things. And then, of course, there's our College Success Strategies course, which we'll talk a lot more in detail about, and then there's a residential life component as well. So it's a pretty comprehensive program.
All right, so the part that CAPS came up with is the College Success Strategies portion of Summer Bridge. And so the goal with these workshops was to be able to help teach them skills that they could use in the university, but also just in life that would help them through life. And so we're going to go into each of these 4 sessions in more detail, but it's a 4-session workshop once a week. And the topics are building relationships and connections, stress management, mind management, and communication and assertiveness training. All right, so even though the program for College Success Strategies was created by CAP Psychologist, the facilitators who actually run and put on these workshops come from a very diverse group of staff from a variety of departments. And so we do have CAP psychologists and postdocs who run the sessions, but we also have student affairs staff, academic advisors, and residence life staff who facilitate these workshops.
And of course, our goal is to have a culturally diverse staff that's present and representative of the students that are going through the program as well. And so that's something that we're utilizing in selection of the staff that volunteer to do this.
So for staff training, the program itself is every Wednesday. And so the Friday before, we get all of the staff together to train the staff. And so it's an hour and 45 minutes. And every week we take an opportunity to check in with them. How did the week before go? So it's a great chance for us to find out what went well, what the students were really responding to well, and maybe what didn't go so well. We're able to improve every year. And sometimes we get some great creative ideas from other members of staff that try out new things. So it's a great way to communicate with the facilitators. Also, what we do during this time is each session has a didactic component. And so Kat and myself are able to teach them that didactic component to then they go out and teach it to the students. It also is a chance for us to show them in the room how the different activities work, and we'll show you a couple of those activities today. And it's also a good chance for us to be able to help them be aware of maybe some cultural issues that they might want to be aware of.
So the first session is our introductory session, and it's our getting to know each other section where we're going over what is College Success Strategies, what we'll be covering over the month of August. We want to begin to establish safety within the group, establish connections with the group. It's important to understand, too, we are a decentralized system at UCSD, so we have 6 undergraduate colleges, and so these students come from all 6 colleges, and during the Summer Bridge program, they're all together, and this is the only component in which they're actually separated out by college. So they have the opportunity to get to know each other in a different way, and to go know the students that are going to be at their college, but also to get to know their college administrators and their CAPS counselors at their college, and so it's a really unique opportunity within the Summer Bridge program. So this first session, we're starting to build that network of support. We're starting to look at their personal skill development around getting more comfortable with sharing a bit about who they are, about listening to other folks' stories and understanding who they are and how to make those connections with each other. We spend some time establishing some ground rules or communication guidelines that help to establish that safety within the group as well. And then so one of the ways that we do that is we'll do some basic icebreakers to start with, and then we move into deeper introductions. And so we do maybe 2 to 3 rounds of introductions where we're able to kind of go deeper and deeper and to kind of get to know them in a way that might be more meaningful. So for example, we'll ask about, well, what are your hopes and dreams about coming to UCSD? What are your fantasies about what that might be like? What are some challenges or some fears that you have about pursuing this as something that you want to do in life? What does it mean for you and for the people who love you that you've made this choice to come to college and to come to UCSD? And so especially with our diverse group of students, we really want to get into talking about their connections to their home, to their community, to their family, and what that means that they're here and they're in college, and especially if they're first generation college students, what might that look like for them? And then we try to end each session, and starting with this session, with some kind of meditation, visualization, relaxation activity so that experientially they get the chance to understand what does it mean to actually do some things that might assist with self-care and balance. And so we give them an example of what that might look like with relaxation exercises.
With each of these sessions, too, Kat and I are happy to share with you the specific outlines that we use for each of these. And then we have different exercises and materials, and we're happy to share all of that with you as well. All right, for session 2, we talk about stress management, so we continue to build those connections with both the students and each other and the students and the staff. And one of the main things that we're trying to get across with this one is helping them understand the basics of stress management. So we talk about the 8 dimensions of well-being, which I'll go into in just a few moments. And we help them identify where do they have areas of strength already, and what are areas maybe that they can keep working on. We also talk with them about stress management and how stress is very natural and how some stress is actually useful, but then when does it cross the line and become more harmful? And we also help them identify what are stressors, so we have that conversation with them as you're coming into college. What are some things that you imagine might be stressors for you? And then how do you identify when you're under too much stress? What are the cognitive signs, emotional signs, behavioral signs? So how can you identify when you're under too much stress? And then what's the consequence of that? If you don't manage that, then what's the consequence for you? Our goal is that they can at least leave with 3 ideas of 3 effective ways to manage their stress. And we like to do this in really interactive, fun ways to teach this material. So when I first started the program, we would just kind of go down and list the different ways to manage the stress. And you could see students just sort of falling asleep. And so with each of our sessions, we try to think of what are fun, interactive ways to do this so that they learn the material, but they're having fun. So for this one thing that we came up with was a Pictionary game. So we split them into 4 teams, and we have these big gigantic post-it notes on the wall, and we give them different ways to manage stress, and they've got to draw them out and guess it in a game, and they get really excited, and it's really interactive and really fun. And then as Kat mentioned, we end each exercise with a relaxation training or a mindful meditation, because it's one thing to say to them, you know what, relaxation training is really helpful to manage your stress, but it's another thing to actually have them experience, how does that impact my body? How does that impact my mind? Oh, now I get it. I see why this could be useful. So that's why these experiential exercises are so important. Another thing that we do during this session is introduce them to different campus resources. So besides CAPS, we let them know where else on campus are good places for stress management and wellness. So at UCSD, we have an area called The Zone, where students are able to go, drink tea, take a nap, study. They have free programming like laughter yoga, healthy eating demonstrations. They bring in therapy fluffies. They bring in dogs during finals week that students can pet. So we let them know about all of these different resources that are available. So right now I'm going to do an exercise with you. Let me see how we're doing on time here. Yep, we're okay. So we're going to be doing a balloon activity. So that's why so many of you were so helpful in helping me blow up the balloons. So I'm going to show you what one of these exercises looks like. So this exercise helps us get across the point of the importance of stress management and balance, but hopefully it's done in a way that's really fun. So we're going to talk about the 8 dimensions of well-being, if you can flash it to the next screen. And so this is one thing that we want to educate them about. But first we talk about stress and what things are stressing them out. Again, as you're coming to college, what things do you imagine might be stressors? But let me do this with you all here. So if you would mind sharing, what are some things in your life that might be stressing you out right now? So let me get some examples. Dissertation. That's a good one. All right, another stressor? Work demands. I think everyone can relate to that one. All right, that should be a big balloon. All right?
Finances.
Yeah, I'm just going to put a big dollar sign, that's for sure. Okay? Anyone? Sleep. Okay. All right. Family. Really, you know, even things that can be really positive in our life, like family, for example, can also be really stressful too. So, pets?
Yes.
The stress of taking care of a pet?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, let me get 2 more stressors. Housing, okay. Related to finances, I bet, huh? Okay, another one? Can anyone give me another positive one that might seem positive but can be stressful? I'm going to make that one really big. Marriage. All right. So, but then I also want to talk about, now with the students, I'll talk about the 8 dimensions of well-being and go into more detail about what each of those is. For the purposes of time, I'm just going to kind of assume that you know what each of these areas might be. Maybe you could give me an example of one way to manage your stress in each of these areas. So anyone give me an example for social? What's something you could do in the area of social well-being that would help you manage your stress? With friends, you mean? Schedule, okay, so see friends, schedule it regularly. Great. So not something that's left to the last moment, but actually something that you're prioritizing. Great. Finances, we mentioned finances as a stressor. What's something you could do for your well-being for finances? Budget. Great. Okay, occupational wellness. What's something that you could do for that? Take a vacation. So maybe in an area of, you know, trying to find something that you're good at, that you're passionate about. What could be something? I mean, I love your idea, Kat, but yes.
Go to a training on something you want to learn.
Great. Go to a conference. Attend a session by Kat and Tiffany. All right. Physical. What's something for your physical well-being? Exercise, okay. And did I hear yoga? Yoga. Exercise, yoga. I think I saw you in the gym this morning. Okay, let's see. Environmental. What's something for your environmental wellness that you could do? Or maybe not necessarily your wellness, but the environment's wellness. What's something that you could do? You could do what? Conserve water. I thought you said surf. Conserve water. Great. Okay. Intellectual. Read. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Emotional. Did you say cry? Okay, yeah, let it out. Cry. Maybe go see a counselor. Talk to someone about it. Okay, and last one, spiritual. Any ideas about what you might do?
Pray.
Okay. Great ideas. All right, so if I could get 8 volunteers who wouldn't mind being good sports and coming up to the middle area here and getting in a circle just for a demonstration. All right, thank you. 1, 2. I know all my balloon blowers. Yeah, I know almost everybody. 1, 2, 3. It's good to have some people observing, though. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, in a circle. Get in a circle. All right. So this is a game we're going to be playing. And the goal of the game is not to let the balloon drop. So each of the blue ones is a stressor, and each of the yellow ones is a way to manage that stress. But you don't want to let the balloon drop. So you want to close in the gap a little bit. I'm going to toss in the balloon and keep the balloon going. There's your pets right there. Okay. And here's some family. And you're budgeting your money. And you're taking a training. But now your partner's getting mad at you. And your money is getting tight. So you keep going to yoga. You're conserving water. You're reading. You're crying. You're making plans with friends. Oh! Hey! All right, great job, great job. Thank you. You all did a great job. You kept up those balloons for a long time. All right, so let's just debrief that real quickly. So if the blue balloons were stressors and the yellow balloons were things for well-being, what do you think was maybe some of the messages that we're trying to get across with this exercise here? What were some of the main points you'd want students to take away from that? Oh, wait, okay, one at a time. What?
It's really hard to juggle everything.
It's really hard to juggle everything, right? So there's only so much that you can put on your plate. So even positive things. You get a lot of students that did a lot of stuff in high school. Well, then they get to college. Maybe they can't have the same full plate anymore. So you got to think about balance. Great.
I'm thinking about the cumulative effect initially when it was like 1 and 2 balloons. It was relatively easy, but as more balloons kept coming, I couldn't tell which one was blue and which one was yellow. I was just
So at first it was fun, it was light, right? But then it became a burden over time, right?
It felt good not to be alone, so having others around. Like, okay, you got that one, okay, good. Oh, you got that one, okay.
What a great idea to take away from this metaphor, that you don't have to be alone with this. Even though there's a lot to handle, you can ask for help. Great. So it's these kinds of ideas you want to get across to them. So just the idea that you can create balance and get across the dimensions of well-being in a way that's fun. All right, the next session focuses on mind management. And so in this one, we want to help them decrease their stress by challenging self-defeating and irrational thoughts. So in this section, we really want to introduce the idea that your thoughts impact your mood and impact your behavior. It's really some basics of CBT that we're introducing here. And we also introduce the idea of cognitive distortions, so that not all of our thinking is completely accurate. So for many of them, they've never even considered this before, that their thinking isn't completely true. This may be the first time they're hearing this idea that, wow, my thinking might not be completely accurate. And so we want to help them identify potential distorted thinking and how to challenge that thinking and then create new ways of thinking. And we do that again through really fun interactive exercises. But I think it's really important to be aware of cultural context. So for example, the cognitive distortion of shoulds. So if a student is saying, I should go home on the weekend to be with my family, that's not an irrational thought. We want to help them identify our thoughts like, I must be perfect or I won't succeed. Or if I don't get him to like me, then I'm not going to make any friends while here at the university. For test anxiety, if your heart starts to race and you're getting trembly and shaky, that doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, I'm panicking, I'm not going to be able to take this test. Instead, it means, here's my stress reaction, having a very natural reaction, and it's my body rising up to meet the challenge. So that's the type of distorted thinking that we're wanting them to recognize. And really, the idea that we try to get across here with stress management, the idea was, this is not something you do just when you're stressed, this is a lifestyle you want to create. With mind management, the idea is this is something, your attitude and your healthy perspective is going to be really important, not just in getting you through the university, but also getting you through life. So we do this through some fun ways. So we're not going to play this with you right now, but we do have a computer program that we'd be happy to share. It's called Stinkin' Thinkin' Jeopardy. And we have different topics at the top, and just like the real game, they pick a topic, they pick a dollar amount, and it will give you an answer, which is a situation that has some distorted thinking. And then the students have to find the answer in the form of a question. What is all or nothing, or what is overgeneralization? So it's a really great way to help them get familiar with the different cognitive distortions. We'll also do things like skits where they have to act out a scenario first using distorted thinking, then act out a scenario using more realistic thinking, and that they like that one a lot too. And then a meditation that we'll use is the Leaves on a Stream exercise, where they practice visualizing those thoughts and observing them and just watching them flow down the stream, right? So that's one that we use for this one.
All right. And then the fourth and final session is our relationship management session. And this is where we will explore some issues around self-esteem and boundaries and how that might impact the relationship building. We discuss communication skills and go over factors that impact our communication and differences in communication. So we'll talk about culture, language, socialization, environment, gender, all these other elements of identity. And then we define our different communication styles from aggressive to passive aggressive, and assertive, and explore the pros and cons of each. We like to highlight the benefits of assertiveness, of course, while remaining cognizant of the contextual variables and the fact that it may not always be appropriate to be assertive. And so we'll talk about that and kind of highlight that through the exercises that we do in talking about these different communication styles. We also go through some traditional assumptions and legitimate rights, and so we'll talk about the fact that we all get messages while growing up around what's okay and what's not okay. So, I have the right to say no. Not all of us get that. Or maybe I have a right to think about myself first before I think about other people. Or we get the message, no, I should always be helpful to others. And so looking at some of those assumptions that we might have been sort of inundated with in ways that were really unconscious, bringing those to consciousness and talking about, hey, is this something that we want to keep following? Is this something that we think applies to us all the time? Is this something that we can start to, play with a little bit and see if we can look at other ways to think about that so that we can give ourselves some empowerment to speak up and do what we need to do if we need to. Of course, we also have another sheet that we go through around specific cultural differences around how we communicate, knowing that the content of the message is only a small percentage of what gets heard or read. And so looking at body language, looking at differences in personal space, all of those kinds of things, looking at how you start the story. Do you start with the grand, picture of things, or do you jump into the details right away? So looking at those kinds of things around communication and how that might be different from person to person is really important. We actually go into some steps around teaching folks how to construct an assertive response, especially in a situation in which there might be some sort of confrontation. So if your roommate's not doing their dishes, how might you approach having the conversation with them in a way that can end up in a win-win situation? And so being able to use empathic assertion to do that. This is another opportunity where we have skits that they can use to practice, and so we'll have them, set out a scenario and have them model, well, what would be a passive-aggressive response in this situation? What would be a passive response? What would be an aggressive one? And then what would be an assertive one? And kind of helping them illustrate what those differences look like and having them do that. Since this is our final session, we also highlight just the key takeaways for all 4 weeks. And so we go back and review what we've talked about. And we generally start, one of the things we didn't mention is we encourage our facilitators to think about creative ways to kind of do some building over the course of the whole program. So starting with an experiential exercise that maybe, gets them to kind of think about, well, who am I? So they might write a hope letter, or we do a rock exercise. And this is an opportunity to kind of close that up. And so we have some examples of that in our materials that we can share as well. But that's another thing that would take up some time in this last session. And then last but not least, in the final session, we do talk about campus resources, and we have a little sheet that we've made up called Resource Rescue. And so we also give scenarios, and it's kind of a matching game. So if your temperature is 102 and you're stuffy and everything, what do you do? And so going to student health kind of thing, so you can mix and match those kinds of things. So we'll do one more demonstration. We have an exercise called the Four Corners Activities. So if everyone could stand up and participate, you'll notice on the walls I've posted signs. There's passive, passive-aggressive in that back corner, aggressive, and assertive. And what I'm going to do, I guess I need to stay at the mic to tell you this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read out a couple of scenarios, and I want you to think about who you are right now and how you might respond given the scenario. All right? And so you just go to the corner that's labeled with what your response would likely look like. And we're assuming that you know the difference between these types of communication.
And with students we teach them what does passive look like, what does aggressive mean, what does passive aggressive mean, what does assertive mean, so that they get an idea of that before we do this exercise.
All right. So, get my little sheet. Ha ha ha. Scenario number 1. Here we go. Your friend offers to give you a ride and is half an hour late. What do you do?
I can walk around to each one and they can speak near me so that I can, I'll just go around the corner every time. Oh, okay.
All right. So your friend's a half an hour late to give you a ride. So folks in the passive corner, what would your response look like? What does that sound like?
I'm here so that they can hear what you say.
It's okay. Thanks for picking me up anyways.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. It's okay, don't worry about it. And then folks that are assertive, what does that look like?
I thought you said we're going to leave at 4 o'clock.
That's a little aggressive. Did our aggressive fell off the wall. It's a little aggressive. Just a titch. Just a titch.
You know, I really appreciate you picking me up, but, I want to share that, I'm feeling annoyed that you're a half hour late. I had some things I needed to do.
Okay, absolutely. All right, next scenario. Your friend offers to give you a ride to a job interview and is half an hour late, and you miss the interview. They're a half hour late.
Oh, wow, no one's passive.
And
Everyone's
you missed
moving.
the interview.
Okay. I'll go over to aggressive. Wow.
Right,
Okay.
Wow. All right.
Wow, everyone, this is so interesting because so many people that were in passive moved to the other end here to aggressive. So.
All right, so what does that aggressive response look like?
I thought you said you're coming at 4.
There you go. All right.
And assertive?
Thanks for coming, but this is really important to me. Like, can you please be on time next time when I have a job interview?
And then the folks hanging out in the middle, what's that about?
I think it's some assertive communication with some chemical words.
A couple little bombs thrown in there, here and there? Okay, yeah, gotcha. All right, next scenario. Where did it go? Hold on a second. Trying to pick some good ones. Hey, where did it go? Oh, yes. All right, here we go. You have a new boyfriend or girlfriend who you really like, but you don't really like the way they kiss.
I hear a gasp.
How new?
New enough to be kissing. We gotta make it. This could be the middle if you leave. Okay. There's also passive aggressive back there. And Okay. All right, so passive aggressive.
Oh, wait. Oh, passive
I'm
aggressive.
interested to hear, yes. What does that look like?
I mean, not just say anything and not be stop calling or
That's passive aggressive,
just,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Keep it moving without saying you're a bad kisser.
So you just disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't
All right.
return those texts.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And someone who's passive, what does that look like?
Looks like we got hope that improvements can be made, so I won't say anything since it's still new.
Just kind of hang out and wait and see what happens. Okay. And then folks in the middle here?
I say, slow down.
It sounds like you've been here before.
Back up. Yeah, some guidance. Can we try this?
Okay.
Okay. And then what does assertive look like in comparison to that?
I guess I was thinking more like a little bit, just let's try it this way. Or, I kind of like to kiss like this, and what do you think?
Absolutely.
I don't know, maybe that's on the continuum or something.
Trying to do some problem solving.
Darling,
Yeah.
you're awesome, but a little less tongue. So.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect.
Straightforward, yeah.
Perfect. All right. And then last one we'll do for today is, your roommate is posting negative things about you on Facebook. How do you respond?
Okay.
Ah.
Is everyone going to assertive? Wow, this is the first time
Interesting.
everyone's
Wow,
in one
all
corner.
right.
Okay.
So what does that look like for folks? What would you do?
I saw the post you made about me. Stop that. Or, did you want to talk to me directly instead of putting it online?
Great.
Absolutely. All right. All right, you can return to your seat.
All right, great.
Thank you for indulging us. So what did folks notice about that exercise, and kind of what came up for you as you did that?
Maybe your communication style change depends on the scenario.
Absolutely.
And also, I think how the relationship is defined, your roommate versus, something that has a little bit more of a romantic dynamic to it. And how that why people to be more or less assertive.
So there's lots of variables that come into how you're responding. So depending on who you're talking to, who you're dealing with, what's the situation, what's the context. One of the things that's important to highlight is that some folks will say, oh, I'm just not very assertive. I'm a very passive person. I don't know how to be assertive. But when we do this exercise, they find that in different situations, oh, actually, I can pull out an assertive response from time to time. So knowing that that's contextual. So the skills are there, but it's just looking at, well, what else is going on that might stop me from being assertive in this situation? And again, going back to some of those cultural considerations, well, there might be some situations in which it won't be appropriate to be more assertive in that situation. If your parents really want you to be there and to come home, to speak up against your parents might not be good, And so we want to really legitimize that and really validate the fact that, there's different things to consider when it comes to this, but we want to think about, well, is there a way to be assertive that could be culturally congruent, and what might that look like? Oftentimes what we find with students is that they might confuse aggressive with assertive a lot, and oftentimes define assertive as aggressive, and sort of looking at, well, what's the difference between aggressive and assertive, and kind of doing some visual around that in terms of it's really an opportunity for you to state, what your needs are, what's your desire, what's going on, how do you feel, what would you like to see change, and to give the other person the opportunity to negotiate with you and to talk about what would work for both of you, and so to look at the ways in which that's different from being aggressive. The other thing I often point out too is that sometimes being aggressive is actually appropriate as well. If we think about an emergency situation, I need you to call 911, I need you to do this, and so really you don't have time to negotiate, you need to get something done, and so that there's different situations for that.
Along with the cultural, because I'm also thinking about generational.
Absolutely.
And for a student who in a case where they don't perceive it as aggressive, but maybe parents or grandparents may perceive it as a message or as aggressive.
Absolutely. Yes. And then I saw a hand back Tanya.
Yeah, so my thought was more when you were asking or when we were talking upstairs, I had sort of this reaction of, this is what I probably would do, but this is what I would like to do. So do you guys go into discussion about that at all? On session?
Yeah, so we try to say, as you are right now, what would you do? And then we could talk a little bit about, yeah, but I'd really like to do that. So absolutely, absolutely. And then with our facilitators, we'll have folks, and sometimes we'll think, well, imagine yourself at 18. What would that look like? And sometimes we'll see that looks really different. Like who I was at 18 was not going to be over there a lot, but who I am now, yes.
You mentioned generational differences, and I think that's also important to remember when you're doing a game like Jeopardy, for example. A lot of the students don't know what Jeopardy is, so needing to explain to them what's the idea that there's a question and you've got to come up, there's an answer and you've got to come up with a question, So just being aware of those kinds of things. And I think it helps to have, when you have that facilitator training every week and you're getting ideas for what's working and what's not working, we've gotten a lot of our programs freshened up. Like, for example, this Facebook example was something that we've added recently because that's not something that we had in there 10 years ago. So just trying to keep examples relative and to what the students are dealing with. Yeah,
absolutely. So some feedback that we've gotten over time. So we do evaluations every year, and so our student evaluations generally reveal that they really appreciate the opportunity to get to know their college staff and the other students at their college. They love the relaxation exercises and interactive activities, and I remember when I first started doing this, I was like, how are folks going to receive this? Are they going to think this is kind of hokey and weird? But they actually really love it. And sometimes you see some people kind of rolling their eyes like, okay, or they just go to sleep, but over and over and over again, they're like, oh, that was really the best part of my week. That they actually get to relax a little bit. We've both had the personal experience of having students seeking us out later, even years later, whether it's for counseling or to get involved with the peer programs. I once upon a time did run a peer program as well. And so folks, again, they get familiar with us, they know who we are. It makes CAPS counselors feel a bit less scary. And they know we're just normal people, we have normal conversations with folks, we really are accessible. And so I think that's really helpful for them as well. Some of the comments that they've made, in terms of getting familiar with the peers at their college, reflecting on different ways they can cope with stress, that these kinds of things really stick with them. And so they might not remember the lecture, but they remember the exercises and they remember the point. One of the things they get, also, you want to pull out the workbook from there? So they get a student handbook. And that's where all the there's reading materials. We do assign homework from week to week, like a 1 or 2 page, do a couple of exercises. And so they get to keep that. And within that, there's a lot of exercises and information that they can use as a resource. And so they can go back to that, year after year and take a look at some of the stuff that they might not have had a chance to really review in depth during the month of Summer Bridge. And so that's something they get to hold on to. Right? So one thing we wanted to ask as well is if your campus doesn't have a Summer Bridge program, how might you be able to provide a similar type of experience for your incoming students? How would you identify students that would be good candidates for the program? Are there any other campus folks that you can partner with on campus to help facilitate that? And so on and so forth. So these are some things to think about in terms of how that might look if you don't have the same sort of program here at your campus. We did want to take some time as well just to acknowledge folks that have contributed to the program over the years. So we really want to thank everybody who's done that, has done something with that. Dr. Raina Juarez, who is our current director, she coordinated the program and actually was in the position that I'm currently in. She handed it off to me back in 2002, 2003. And so she was there from its inception and really helped to create this. This was kind of her baby in a way. Dr. Christina Lambert developed our facilitator outlines and integrated some of these activities that are really more engaging to assist in making it, more relevant for students. Dr. Christina Castro updated and streamlined our student handbook. Dr. Courtney Clay Peraza developed our Stinkin' Thinkin' Jeopardy game and assisted in the workbook overhaul a few years back. Eliza Patricio and Stephanie Muldrow are academic counselors at a couple of the colleges that actually help keep our materials relevant as well and added changes and really creative ways of doing things. And then all of our facilitators that help out every year. Like I said, we really spend time getting that feedback from week to week and at the end of the program, and we integrate those ideas on an ongoing basis.
And here is our contact information. If you would like a copy of any of our materials or any of our outlines, please feel free to give us an email and we'd be happy to share those with you.
Absolutely. And I did bring a couple of our facilitator binders. That's what's up here. So in the last couple of years, I've actually sort of organized everything into a binder for folks. And so we go through that in the training every year. So our outlines are in there. Information about OASIS is in there. The student handbook and so forth. And so all of that information is there if you wanted to take a look on their way out.
All right. Well,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for being here. Yeah. And participating and blowing up balloons.
Yes.